It's 3:32. We are live. Hello, peoples. This is episode 11 of our live portfolio reviews. I'm RT Bear, and let's get into this. This is Tony Neary, and it's Tony with an I, so I hope I'm right with assuming this is a lady. Hi, lady. 16. So this was a while ago. The with an exclamation. Look at that. That's awesome. And we turned down the air in this room so it would sound better. It's hot. It's getting hot already. Okay, let's just get updated on Tony's stuff. Ooh, poor guy. Oh no. What's happening to those things? Okay, so this is Tony's work. So now we kind of get it. I hope I'm safe in assuming as well that these are your pencils and inks. So let's go. This looks like a pinup or a cover. I would say right off the bat, like characters are in these kind of montage ideas don't necessarily have to be interacting, because they're all different sizes, but there has to be some harmony where they all look like they're supposed to be in the shot together, like aesthetically speaking. But you have this nice image right here of the girl with the wings. That's very good. But we kind of start competing against her with a lot of these figures. So let me see. I'm going to do something and see if that's wrong. Tool, I thought I moved it. So let's see. Also, if this is a cover, you have to leave some room for there to be a logo. I can hear. So already, like if there was a logo in here, you can see it compositionally where it's starting to work a little bit better. And is that a question?
Just activating the live chat.
Oh, okay. So we're live chatty. So if there's any chatty Cathys out there, feel free. Chat away. Ask questions. And then I think, yeah, these figures around her, it's a good idea, but they're just kind of not working. Like she's looking out this way.
Title says they could have been added just to eat up dead space.
Yeah, it could be, but just remember, open areas can be an artist's friend too. Sometimes if things are too condensed and dense, it makes it hard to read, and compositionally not as successful. So don't be afraid of the open areas as an artist, because they can be your friend. Sometimes even like if this was solid black, that would still kind of be classified as an open area. which if you did that, then it goes in with the theme of the blacks. Let's see. I don't know if I can do this simple. What will happen? So you could do something like that. I named your book Logo. So your book is now called Logo. So there's that idea as well. So once again, like open areas can be your friend.
I love Lobo.
It is kind of a Lobo. It's a Lobo Dodo. Um, yeah, so she really doesn't work over here. Um, sorry to say, it's a nicely drawn face and all, but it really doesn't work. So, um,
She's horrified by that logo.
yeah, she's looking up at it like, what's going on? And we have two figures looking straight ahead. This one here and this, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's a little repetitious. And then this figure is leaning out in that direction versus in this direction. So I would flop this character so he's kind of looking into the composition versus out in this direction. Because once again, it brings your eye away. We got a question.
This, depending on the story, it could be called Logos, Meanings to Speak.
All right, we just hijacked your concept here, Tony, and it's now logo or logos. So these are the logos, gang. Yeah, it's really, really good. I like the blacks. They really kind of start bleeding together, which is nice. Um, yeah, I really think look at some movie poster stuff and see how like background figures like this work. You know, how they make them different sizes and stuff. Maybe she's not working with this guy down here because they're about the same size and they look like maybe they could be in real space with each other. And that's kind of what you don't want to do in these type of things. You want to make sure that they're all unless they are in real space with each other, which you can do sometimes too. But in this case, it doesn't look like they're all supposed to be in real time with each other. So maybe if she was smaller, more where you saw her whole face, yeah, kind of 3/4. Here's her ear. You know, where she's looking more in this way. Could work. So always be aware of the characters. They'll lead your eye visually wherever they're looking. So when you look at a composition, you kind of see through the character's eyes, and so you'll look where they're looking. And so always be careful with that. And there's another thing that is a rule. I don't know. Actually, it's one of my rules. I'm a self-taught artist, so a lot of this is just stuff I've learned over 30 years. But whenever you have a character looking straight forward, it will always stop you. So you'll always look formally right at that person. So be aware of that too. So sometimes if you start like a storytelling page, like say it's 6 panels, and you start the page with the first panel, the character looking straight at the page, it will kind of stop the reader from going into the next panel because they'll just look at it. It's very formal. It's like when somebody is looking direct, kind of pay attention to them and you look directly back at them. It's just kind of the way we're wired. So always be aware of that. But sometimes it's very effective to have a very formal, straight on shot because let's just say it could either be within a scene or it could be the last panel of the page. And you want to stop the reader. You want the reader to slow down and pay attention to what's going on. And when you do a formal shot like that of a character looking straight forward, like this, it'll slow down the action. It'll it'll make you pay attention to it because it's just kind of the way humans are wired. So that's that for what I think is the cover. So now we're getting into storytelling. So here's the first panel. Nice winter scene. Cool snow effects. So looks like a mountain man kind of making a winter storm. It looks like he either just hurt somebody with that sword or it's icing up. But it looks like he's seen some battle too. He's pretty scarred up his face. So yeah, so this is one of those classic pull back first panels. You can't really clearly see the character, but you establish the surroundings and that basically what this character looks like. So this is a really good establishing shot, and then we pull in a little closer, and we get to see who it is. And once again, like these are very formal shots; they're straight on, but he's coming forward, and the panel and the camera's closing in on him, so there's still movement going on. So it works. Yeah, I would. And then this is, I'm not sure, but maybe this is blood, like he's really hurt. So this is, he's losing blood. That's why you're closing in on his feet. This looks like maybe it's supposed to be blood. So that's really cool. We're closing in on that he's hurt. And um, then these next two panels, I think we're getting into repetition because this is first panel figure straight on, second panel straight on. This is still a straight on. So this all can kind of work. Um, but then we have another straight on, which becomes a repetitious panel to the first. And then we have a close up, formal close up, and we have a formal close panel. So, I would say you probably want to change up your last two panels as far as shots. Maybe do this middle panel as a down shot, an overhead of him, the snow. I'm not sure exactly what's happening story wise, but that's what I would do. And um, and this is I would change this shot up to either 3/4 or maybe um, more of a close up, but just something here. And your compositions are really. I think what I'd like is the figure has a lot of blacks, but and don't think if you want to maybe do skin here. Also looking a little more ominous, a little scarier, because this kind of to me looks a little foreboding. The shot. So maybe if there's some blacks in here, you can kind of already see how it's looking, and then possibly um, like simplify some of these shapes back here, like they're really distant trees. Keep them a little bit more simple, and then the mid-ground trees keep the way you have that, and then maybe in your foreground bring some more blacks back in. So there's one thing storytelling wise that you always want to do is you want to make sure that your planes are distinct, your foreground, background, midground. And one of the ways you can do that is to have different line weights, but also you can bring blacks in open areas. So if you have your open areas more in the background, and then you have your midground's got some rendering, and then your foreground has actual black in it, then you're kind of creating more visual interest and helping the reader make out what's going on. So that's mine 2 cents on just the blacks in open areas. Some of your rendering is a little patterned and off. I would almost like to see some of this a little bit more simple. Maybe take some of the rendering off of here and just have it kind of on the chest. Open up some of this area. Help it read better. And I would, some of this jacket stuff, I would also simplify. Remember that when you're pulling back like this, sometimes the simpler you make the shapes, the better they are for readability. Because sometimes, like this rendering here, is a little too much. Sometimes, if there's too much, it becomes hard to read. Yeah, I would say start looking a little bit more at some rendering, kind of learn some different tools and ways to render. I like your commitment. I like your thick to thin. It's very good, but maybe just try to break up some of the patterns because they're all very patterned and the same, and some of them are in awkward places. And what I would do is you have some of this rendering down here, which doesn't make much sense. It's kind of like a light to dark fade. So usually light will hit mostly on the tops of things. So most of your light would hit in like the top parts of things, hair, forehead, this, shoulders, stuff like that. And then as it goes down, it becomes darker and darker. So keep that in mind, because sometimes you can actually bring more blacks. Let me find my black. And see if I can show you what I mean. Because the black is kind of, the light isn't hitting as much. So maybe you could bring a little bit more black into some of these areas and then keep the upper part a little bit more lit. I'm not sure. Looks like the light might be coming slightly overhead, but a little bit from left to right. So since this collar is so big, you could maybe bring more of blacks, and blacks can help simplify things too and make things better as far as readability. So I know you're hearing the clicking of a mouse, and I know I'm a dinosaur, but it's what I'm comfortable with. So yeah, that's my take on that. Yeah, once again, the rendering, I like your thick to thin. I like the commitment level on it. It's very good. Um, but it's just a little too patterned and a little too repetitious, a little too much. I think if it was simplified, or if you started your hatching a little later, so kind of where the light is kind of, let me get my red back, um, kind of where the light is hitting, then you can kind of simplify those areas. Um, which is what I would do. Keep in mind, I mean, he probably has a dark colored jacket, so it would probably be a little bit more black than the hand. But we have this light up here on the palm, so I mean, we might want to keep this top part lit a little bit better, and then keep the rendering down here to help it fade into the black. So that's kind of what I would do there. It's a nice hand, Tony. Very good. Just watch out for, like, there's a lot of um, reoccurring patterns. Like a lot of these folds are all real similar, and light just doesn't work that way. So I would try to, um, I don't know, bring some more like solids to things, maybe to break up some of that rhythm that you have there. Perhaps, you know, um, but yeah, don't. Oh, it's fur. That's what this detail. I think it's a fur collar. Yeah, so I really think if you played some of the rendering a little bit more sparingly, but I really do applaud your um, your level of commitment. Also, if you have the light coming in from top to bottom, don't don't really shadow the tops of these things or hatch the tops. And here you have the light coming in from left to right, so I wouldn't put too much hatching on that the left side. See how the hatching over here on the cheek, it's kind of working, but I'd simplify the other side of the face. As good as this fur texture is, I would probably also simplify it. Just always, if you ever have a problem with figuring out how to prioritize, simplifying something, just think worse. Because, like, I mean, I would maybe add a little bit in here, but think of it as the light's hitting in that area, and then where the light isn't hitting as much, it's in shadow. That's where you can indicate some of the detail, and then possibly even if he's got dark hair, light the hair a little bit more, like the light's kind of hitting the top of it. It's also a way that you can start simplifying some of your your shapes. I just think that it's a little too um, busy with the approach. So the drawing is really good. Your composition, but like just some of the solidity isn't. It's just kind of I guess a little too busy. So simplify it with talking about, and also with the blacks. The blacks will help. Don't be afraid to blacks because it looks like he's in some heavy shadow here. So by doing some of this, you can help the storytelling, help, clarify stuff. So that's it on that page. Let's go to the last one. Oh, this one's lighthearted. This one's just gonna be like fun. Nobody's really getting hurt. Oh, wait a minute. This is like a zombie slaughter page. Yeah, once again, your shots, your storytelling is really good. And your drawing um, is really, it's good. It's a good start. I think you are probably a year or so if you worked really, really hard um, getting there. Um, some of this forearm stuff is a little odd. I'm going back to get my red. So like the arm. Whoops. Oh, what did I do? There we go. All right. So the arm here, the hand. But like I said, the composition of storytelling is really strong. Yeah, just start learning how to just simplify some of stuff of your work. Or like find your light source. You don't have to draw every strand. So usually the way you do these things is, once again, light source. So if the light is coming in this direction, you want to have it lit up in here, and then kind of where the light isn't hitting as much, you want your blacks. So just by doing that, look at how much better the solidity is, and just being able to understand the shapes and the forms. So I would say your storytelling really strong point. Your rendering is good. I like your level of commitment. It's not wispy and uncommitted. I mean, there's a nice thick to thin to the line, which is good, but also it doesn't vary. So it's all done the same way. So you have one technique, but you should learn various ways of hatching. So start trying to build your vocabulary as far as hatching, cross hatching, different types of thins and thicks, and different types of fades into blacks. There's all kinds of different ones, and it's a lot of fun figuring that stuff out. And like I said, the drawing, just really keep drawing. Look at anatomy books. Look at your friends. Look at life, um, and just keep drawing and draw a lot, because I think your stuff's pretty close. I think if you worked a good, strong year and a half, just gave it everything you have, I think you'll see some major improvements here. So, uh-oh. You just thought he was winning. Now we got a zombie army. Um, well, very good, Tony. Thank you so much for sending your work. It's really good. Keep working. And just like I'm always telling, let's build a community. Let's keep paying it forward. There's a lot of people in my path that have done really amazing things, gone out of their way to help me. So I'm just trying to give back a little bit here. So I hope you guys got something out of this. Like, subscribe, tell friends. Let's try to build this. And I think as long as I keep getting support, and you guys are tuning in, I'll keep doing this. But I'm gonna have to start breaking this up. So if you guys have any suggestions, what else I could do, let me know. So have a good day and keep drawing.